6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Danushka Medawella and read by J. Yogaraj. First the headlines. The President says that the discussions held to obtain agreement of India and China are fruitful. Accepting nominations for the local government election commences today. Parliamentarian Shanta Bandara says that the government is ready to hold the local government election. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to visit Sri Lanka tomorrow. Sri Lanka and US militaries commence joint training exercises. Permanent jobs for over 35,000 recruited under GR scheme. Zelensky advisor resigns over Dnipro remarks. And those are the headlines. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the discussions held to obtain agreement of India and China are fruitful. He expressed this view at a parliament session yesterday. The President also requested all the MPs to work in unity to provide concessions to the public and to relieve them of the hardships they are undergoing. The government is doing its best in spite of the economic crisis. A surplus harvest has been obtained due to the accurate policy on agriculture. Even though some are accusing the government on spending money on the 75th independence celebration, it is an investment made for the future of the country. Many institutions will be established and laws needed for the reforms will be invented. He further assured that measures would be to purchase medicines required for the year 2023. Accordingly, an allocation of at least 30 to 40 billion rupees would be made for this purpose. However, placing orders would take some time, the President said further, adding that also he does not want to let people suffer from shortages of medicines. It has been planned to establish an institution of economic and trade affairs. Universities of agriculture, sports and climate change will also be introduced to the education field with the help of foreign universities. Accepting nominations for the local government election commences today. Elections Commissioner Nimal Puncheva said that the nominations will be accepted until 12 noon of next Saturday. Accepting of postal vote applications will end on next Monday. The Elections Commissioner says that the time period will not be increased further. Meanwhile, orders under the Act on Regulations and Foreign Exchange Act of Import and Export Control was passed at the Parliament session yesterday. Parliamentarian Shanta Bandara said that the government is ready to hold the local government election and it should be considered whether the local government election is the topmost priority at the moment. He also said that everyone should assist the President to overcome the prevailing crisis. This news comes to you from Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will travel to Sri Lanka tomorrow. This will be his first trip to the country since President Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in last July. Officials said that while a full review of bilateral ties is on the agenda, the visit comes amidst efforts by the Sri Lankan government to get written financial assurances from their closest and biggest creditors, India and China, on restructuring their debt. This is needed to make progress on their bailout plan being discussed with the International Monetary Fund. Mr. Jaishankar's two-day visit to Colombo will follow a visit by a ministerial delegation of the Communist Party of China. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says that the government will take measures to give permanent appointments to around 35,000 low-income youth attached to the Department of Multipurpose Development Task Force. Addressing the Parliament yesterday, he said that these employees will receive an increased allowance than at present, and they will be positioned as per the completion of NVQ qualifications. Prime Minister Gunawardena said that the former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa recruited low-income youth without general education qualifications 2 years ago. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena further said that a multi-purpose development task force was established to manage these 35,000 employees. The government has already commenced the process of giving these employees permanent positions, the Premier noted. The U.S. Navy and Marine Corps will commence exercise cooperation afloat, readiness and training Marine Exercise Sri Lanka 2023 with Sri Lanka Navy and Sri Lanka Air Force in Colombo tomorrow. The U.S. Embassy in Colombo said Karat Marix Sri Lanka is a bilateral exercise between Sri Lanka and the United States designed to promote regional security cooperation, maintain and strengthen maritime partnerships and enhance maritime interoperability. And this is the 5th CARAT MEDEX exercise between the United States and Sri Lanka, and this year includes participants from Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force and Maldives National Defense Force. And that's local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
A special meeting will be held today between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the political party leaders representing Parliament. The meeting will be held to seek support for the bill as opposition political parties are opposing the regulation of election expenditure bill, which discloses the parties providing money for election campaigns. By bringing the Election Expenses Regulation Act, it was expected to disclose information about the groups financing the election campaigns. The opposition party leaders had met with Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa and noted and stated today that they are against that system. Then it was decided to hold a special meeting between the party leaders in the Parliament and the President today. And that was top news.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to establish the International Trade Office during its meeting held on Monday. The Cabinet has approved the establishment of the International Trade Office on 3rd October 2022. Initially, it is planned to establish this office under the Ministry of Finance, Economic Stabilization and National Policy, and then to amalgamate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And that was Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Nepal finds all but one missing person following plane crash. China's population falls for the first time since 1961. And those are the headlines of the world news. Ukrainian presidential advisor Oleksiy Arestovich has offered his resignation after suggesting a Russian missile which hit a building in Dnipro, killing 44 people, was shot down by Kyiv. Mr. Arestovich apologized and said he had made a fundamental error. The original remark caused widespread anger in the country, and it was used by Russian officials to blame Ukraine. The advisor is a well-known figure because of his daily updates on YouTube, watched by millions. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has not yet commented on the Mr. Arestovich's decision to resign. Rescuers used drones and a Deep George on Tuesday looking for the last missing person from the Nepal's worst air disaster in 30 years, in which at least 71 people died, including small children. Difficult terrain around the 200-meter George and the poor weather was hampering rescue efforts near the tourist city of Pokhara, where the Yeti Airlines ATR 72 carrying 72 people crashed on Sunday just before landing. Rescue teams were struggling to identify bodies, Ajay Casey, a police official in the Pokhara, said. China's population has fallen for the first time in 60 years, with the national birth rate hitting a record low 6.77 births per 1,000 people. The population in 2022 is 1.4118 billion, fell by 850,000 from 2021. China's birth rate has been declining for years, prompting a slew of policies to try to slow the trend. But 7 years after scrapping the one-child policy, it has entered what one official described as an era of a negative population growth. The birth rate in 2022 was also down from 7.52 in 2021, according to China's National Bureau of Statistics. And that's World News.
Development News.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardene says the Ministry of Tea premises in the goal is a great opportunity to boost the country's tea industry and export sector. The Prime Minister expressed these views on Saturday, speaking at the opening ceremony of the sales outlet of a tea product called Ministry of Tea, arranged for the high-quality Sri Lankan tea producers in Galle. And that was development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Jurgen Klopp said he was awaited ages for Liverpool to win a game with a positive performance after the Reds booked their place in the FA Cup fourth round with a gutsy victory over Wolves. Harvey Elliott's stunning first-half drive earned Klopp's team their first win since the turn of the year, just 3 days after a dismal defeat at Brighton in the Premier League. And that was Sports News.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The rollout of the devices using Apple's latest version of the M2 chip, which it debuted last year, is an outgrowth of the tech giant's decision in 2020 to use semiconductors designed in-house after 15 years of relying on the Intel's INT technology. The new Mac Mini starts at $599 and will be available from January 24th. The 14-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the latest chips start at $1,999. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, Sri Lanka's first water park built and certified to European health and safety standards, and an FIA-CIK certified leisure and professional karting track by David Peary's group Leisure Cluster formally opened Pearl Bay at Bandaragama. The facility has 4 key zones that consist of water slides, leisure karting, air rifle shooting range and restaurants, as well as the relaxation and activity areas. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the western, sub-Brahmo, southern, central, Uva and northwestern provinces during the afternoon or night. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in the sub-Brahmo province and in Nuwara, Kalutara, Galle and Matara districts. Several spells of showers may occur in the eastern province as well. And that was the weather report. To wind up this news broadcast, let's look at the main points once again. The President says that the discussions held to obtain agreement over India and China are fruitful. Accepting nominations for the local government election commences today. Parliamentarian Shanta Bandara says that the government is ready to hold the local government election. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to visit Sri Lanka tomorrow. Sri Lanka and US militaries commence joint training exercises. Permanent jobs for over 35,000 recruited under GR scheme. And with that, we conclude this morning news podcast of Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.